California is in the midst of a tree crisis. 22 million trees have died since the onset of the drought 4 years ago, and millions more are likely to go. San Diego's beloved Torrey pines have fallen prey to the drought too. Darren Smith, Natural Resource Program Manager with the California State Parks, is here to talk about the status of our region's trees. Darren, how have trees in San Diego County fared through the 4-year drought?
Well, I can't speak much to the rest of the county other than from driving around. You can see a lot of dead trees, especially conifers, even in people's yards and landscaping and things. But with Torrey pines, we've lost about 150 trees overall over the last year and a half, 2 years, something like that.
But Torrey pines don't traditionally require a lot of water, so what's been the problem?
Well, you know, I think for 7 or 8 of the last 10 years, we've been far below average precipitation levels. So the trees are stressed from not having water, not only just the last few years, but for the cumulative effect. You know, the groundwater is probably much depleted. That combined with the abnormally high temperatures over the last few years has really caused a lot of water problems for the trees. So they're not able to use their primary defense mode to be able to push out bark beetles and other pests.
So you have the Torrey pines, and if they go away, albeit slowly, what other plants suffer as a result?
Well, I was going to say we don't expect Torrey pine to disappear completely. We kind of expect them to recede to sort of their better habitats. I mean, they've been around for a long time through a lot of different climatic changes, so I expect they'll hang in there. What we'll probably see, though, is you know, a lot of the other plants that are adapted to drier conditions, the succulents and some of the others probably coming into more prominence. The big fear is that if we do have these sort of weather and climate changes, that we're going to see more non-native species that cause problems. So, you know, if we didn't have non-native species, we'd just see sort of a slow adaptation of these other, you know, Southern California native plants, sort of filling in those niches. But right now we're more worried about the weeds.
Well, I didn't mean to suggest that the Torrey pines might go away, but if they diminish
Right.
In their numbers, is it possible that rather than diminishing, they might actually adjust to the newer climate?
Well, I think so. I mean, that's the idea, is we're sort of working with what we're given as far as climate and weather. And we expect that probably, you know, given most climate predictions, is that we'll have fewer Torrey pine trees than we have at present. It's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, back in the late 1800s, it's estimated that we only had 200 trees in the mainland. So we're still going to be doing better than that, I think. But you know, we're going to do everything we can to protect the trees we have and make sure they still exist. I mean, they're not only important biologically, but they're very important culturally to San Diegans.
So there's this projected El Nino that's supposed to hit this year.
Right.
Even though it's 1 year, might that have an effect on the Torrey pines?
We think so. I mean, water's good for trees, especially conifers. So we're hoping that, you know, some of that deficit over the past few years is filled, and there's enough moisture to you know, improve the vascular function of the trees, and so they can defend themselves from pests.
Does it make sense to plant more Torrey pines?
You know, at present, it's interesting because I'm getting a lot of requests to, you know, why aren't you planting more trees? And the idea is if we can find places that we're fairly sure we can have sustainable populations of trees, we're going to do that. But just going out and sort of pell-melling, you know, planting all over the place could cause more problems because you're planting in areas that the trees aren't well adapted to and could become weakened and become sources of bark beetle infestations.
So if you can't find, if the Torrey pines aren't sustainable in this new climate, at least on the scale that they have been, are there other trees that might be able to be planted to replace them?
It's interesting. I have a friend who suggested a rare bishop pine from Baja, but I don't think we'd do anything like that. I mean, the lucky thing is our coastal shrublands and chaparral and Torrey pine woodlands have a very high species diversity. We have a whole bunch of other plants that are capable of filling in those niches. So, you know, there's plenty of, you know, nature has a very good defense mechanism for changes.
And we're watching it all unfold right now.
And we are. It's a little scary, but it's also a little exciting and intriguing.
Okay, we're going to close it there. Darren Smith, thank you so much.